If you want a free tub of cashew cacao nut butter, and I mean a giant tub, like the size of my head, huge bucket, pail full of this chocolate spread, all you need to do is give this show a 5-star rating and review in whatever podcast app you listen in. So, just to recap for my listeners, each month we are doing giveaways of some of my favorite products, and every month is a different item. And so every month you have a new chance of winning. This month, I am gifting someone Artisana Organics organic chocolate spread that literally tastes like Nutella, but so much healthier with 0 chemicals. And the ingredients are just organic cashews, organic coconut sugar, organic cacao powder, organic coconut MCT oil, and organic vanilla. That's it. Just give this podcast a 5-star rating and review. And every last episode of every month is where I will be announcing the winner. So don't miss those episodes because you may end up missing me announcing that you are the winner.
Yeah. Okay. So organic honey is bullshit. And here's why. You can put a hive on certified organic land and get it certified organic, but the bees will forage for a 5-mile radius. If the next door neighbors are spraying, if governments are spraying the sides of ditches, which happens, they're going to go and they're going to have that exposure, bring it back to the hive, and it's going to be contaminated.
In this episode, you'll discover all the benefits of what Propolis can do for the body and your immune system. If you're looking for an alternative to antibiotics, antiviral medications, immune support, digestive support, sleep aids, and even help to combat and detox our system from microplastics, keep on listening because in this interview, I sit down with Carly Kremer, who is the founder of Beekeepers Naturals, which is a holistic supplement company that integrates and uses bee-derived products such as propolis, royal jelly, raw honey, and bee pollen synergistically to help support the overall immune system as well as PMS, menopause, sleep, energy, leaky gut, brain health, and even fertility. We debunk the myth of glyphosate in honey, if organic honey really exists, if the sugar in honey causes blood sugar spikes, and so much more. It's flu season, you guys, and if you're one to always get sick or have an autoimmune system, this may be the episode that provides the information to better health you've been looking for. I can't wait for you to listen. And remember, always share these episodes with someone you think would benefit from it. And I think we all can benefit from having better health. You are listening to the Digest This podcast, and I'm your host, Bethany Cameron. Let's get right into the episode. Well, thank you so much, Carly, for coming on today. It's a pleasure to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. Okay. So you have quite an interesting story, and I can't wait to dive in. But before we do, I like to start my podcast with some rapid fire yes or no questions, and you can only answer yes or no. Are you ready?
Hey, yeah.
Okay. There's only like 3. Okay. So first one, are antibiotics the only answer to kill bacteria?
No.
Is propolis an antibiotic?
Kind of.
Okay. Well, we'll dive into that. Yeah. All right. And then last question, can sugar from honey help support blood sugar?
Yes.
I cannot stand the thought of giving myself or any child harmful dyes, artificial flavorings, and chemicals, not only when we are feeling well, but especially when we are sick. Sadly, that's what many are putting into their own body and their children's body when their immune system is compromised. We are full on into flu season, and if you know me well, then you know I always opt for natural remedies over the stuff like Theraflu, Robitussin, and NyQuil when I can. I have tried several natural remedies on the market, and sadly, many just don't do the job. However, there is one company that is taking the natural flu care by storm with their propolis products, and that company is Beekeepers Naturals. I have several of their bee products in my cupboard right now that I take routinely, as well as when I am feeling under the weather. I'm not sure if you knew this, but honey isn't the only thing that bees make. They also produce a compound called propolis, which is literally a superfood. It has a special compound that acts as an antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial. In fact, there was a study in the NIH. The researchers found the propolis cream not only reduced the amount of herpes virus present in a person's body, but also protected the body against future breakouts. Another study found that propolis may also help treat throat infections as well as cavities. And these are just a few reasons why Beekeepers Naturals uses this natural aid in so many of their products and also includes it in their raw honey for a full spectrum superfood sweetener. I personally take their propolis spray every single day and often multiple times a day. My husband and I both spray it at night and whenever we have a dry throat or tickle in our mouth. I also have their Liposomal vitamin C that also contains the antifungal and antiviral propolis compound. And I keep their propolis cough syrup in my pantry just in case I need it for those colder months. Their products range from throat lozenges to brain fuel, bee pollen, throat sprays, even nasal sprays. They also have a kids formula for your little ones when they are sick. I highly suggest checking out all their immune support products to naturally help your body fight off infections and keep them at bay. And you know I've got an amazing deal for my listeners. If you go to beekeepersnaturals.com/digest, you'll get 20% off. That's beekeepersnaturals.com/digest or enter code digest at checkout. I have a genuine question for you. Who here listening loves to eat beef liver and heart? I can already guess not many. Sadly, beef organs are overlooked, and in today's American diet, 92% of Americans are nutrient deficient and nearly 50% are deficient in vitamin B12 specifically, which can lead to issues like anemia, vascular disease, stroke, autoimmune conditions, fatigue, and dementia. Vitamin B12 is the only vitamin that we cannot get from plants or sunlight. It is the only vitamin found in animal products. And the richest source of natural B12 on the planet is grass-fed beef liver. In fact, severe B12 deficiency used to be fatal until scientists figured out death could be prevented by feeding patients raw liver. Now, I'm personally not going to eat raw liver, and I'm sure you aren't either, but I am a huge fan of consuming meat organs. However, I know most have a difficult time with either the taste of them or simply digesting them. But organ meats are some of the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. I would hate for myself or anyone to go without them in their diet. That's why I personally opt for Equip Foods grass-fed beef organ capsules. It's a blend of grass-fed heart, kidney, and spleen that's dehydrated and put into a capsule form to easily be consumed with any meal or just a simple glass of water. Just 3 ingredients and absolutely no fillers, no flow agents, and no additional ingredients are added. Equip Foods also has liver capsules if you're particularly interested in upping your iron. Grass-fed organs are super rich in vitamin A, of course, vitamin B12, coenzyme Q10, heme iron, and selenium. These nutrients provide a multitude of benefits to immunity and vitality. If you're not sure about them, Equip Foods has a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So if you aren't thrilled with your order, just let them know and they'll refund you without any questions asked. You really have nothing to lose and all the health to gain. Just go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST to get 20% off. That's awesome, you guys. So you're going to try this for 20% off. And then if you don't like it, return it and get 100% of your money back. So you honestly have nothing to lose. Again, just go to equipfoods.com/digest and use code DIGEST. So for those that don't know, Beekeepers Natural, and I feel like if you don't know what Beekeepers Natural is, I feel like you've been living under a rock because you guys are everywhere. Like I even saw you guys in CVS the other day. Like you guys are literally everywhere, which is amazing. I would love for you to really explain and share your own personal journey and how you became and how you developed such an amazing brand and products? Because from what I know, you created this out of your own health struggle.
I did, yeah. So I'm autoimmune, and it doesn't affect my life all that much anymore, but it means that I can't take antibiotics. And growing up, I had chronic tonsillitis. So it was chronic inflammation of my tonsils. What I needed was to have my tonsils removed, a tonsillectomy. But because I'm allergic to antibiotics, in the case of infection, a tonsillectomy would become really, really dangerous. So nobody wanted to perform that surgery on me. So I was just always sick. Always, always sick. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of school I missed as a kid. I was always having to like quarantine myself. It was just a kind of stressful existence. And I saw it was a lot of time and money too, because I saw every thankfully I grew up in Canada with free healthcare, but I saw every ENT, like every specialist, and nobody could basically figure it out. Nobody could help me. And it was just sort of this really frustrating situation where I had an incredibly weak immune system. I had this chronic viral condition, and there were no tools that were accessible. All of the over the counter tools, all of the chemical tools, conventional tools caused other, in some cases, bigger issues for me. And I was really frustrated. And, just looking at the landscape, I was like, okay, there's these cool natural things. And I started exploring the world of natural wellness really early because I had to. And there was a lot there, a lot of tools that, shaped the way I think and, provided a lot of support, but ultimately nothing really worked. And then on the OTC and drug side, everything had a dangerous side effect for me. So I was like, what is this healing model where the drugs have dangerous side effects and like lead to this, this, and this? And then no one's really taking the natural side seriously, even though there are these tools that could be amazing. And so it was just really frustrating. And that continued up into college, that whole constantly sick, frustrated with the system, missing out situation. And then when I was in college, I did a semester abroad. I got really sick. I was traveling around and I was in Italy at the time, and I got really, really, really sick, really severe tonsillitis. I was having a very hard time breathing, and all signs were pointing to me having to come home. And it was my first time abroad like that. I busted my butt waitressing to be able to get out there. And I worked really hard to be able to be a part of this exchange program, and I just was not having it. So I was looking for any solution. I got put in touch with this incredible pharmacist in Florence, and I went to see her. I spoke to her about all my health issues, all of the different drug allergies, and she was like, "Oh, you need propolis." And I was like, "Okay, what's that?" And she's like, "Propolis from the bees." And I was like, "Okay, lady, I've been dealing with this for 21 years. Honey is not going to solve my problems." And she's like, "No, no, no. It's not honey. It's propolis. It's a different substance the bees make. It's antifungal, antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. It's made of immunoproperties of trees and plants, and then the bees combine their enzymes with it. It's a very powerful alternative to antibiotics. It's something you can use on a regular basis to transform your immune system, and it's something that is conventionally used here in Italy, starting at a very early age." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds amazing. Sign me up." So I bought this little tincture, and it was all Italian writing, so not a lot of description there. But I, of course, went home and went down an internet rabbit hole. And it was really interesting because propolis, this bee product that I'd never heard of, has been around since 300 BC. Like, people have been using this in other cultures that are sort of, more innovative when it comes to natural health for thousands of years. It was really interesting. The Assyrians would drink propolis to shrink tumors. In ancient Greece, it was used during the Boer War because propolis is antibacterial and anti-inflammatory. They would use propolis to dress wounds. So before we had antibiotics, cultures were using propolis to heal and support their health for all of these different ailments. And so it was really interesting to learn that. And then I went over to PubMed and I was like, okay, let's see the modern science. And there were tons of studies. I mean, I always tell people, don't take my word, go on PubMed, just go on the internet, go on PubMed, type in propolis and check it out. There are so many studies, study after study, looking at how propolis can support our overall health. And, so much focused on immunity, but then going beyond immunity, propolis for inflammation, propolis for post-oxidative stress, tackling digestive issues. There's just so many applications for this incredible, healing, nourishing superfood. And my mind was just kind of blown. And I was really excited. I start using this tincture, and in 5 days, I make a full recovery. So, what happened to me, and I had never had that experience before. I would be sick for 3 weeks at a time, period. Like, just like always sick. It was ridiculous. And yeah, 5 days, I made a full recovery. So, for me, what happened, and this is why I broke your rule and I said kind of, propolis functioned in my body the way antibiotics do for most people. It knocked out something viral. And then, given all of my reading, I realized that I could keep using propolis. It's actually safe to use and encouraged to use on an everyday basis. So I kept using it and I stopped getting sick. And I still have my tonsils today. I don't know if you can see it. Probably not, but I have
Probably,
some.
yeah, it's a little shadowy.
Yeah. And I haven't had tonsillitis since 2012. I very rarely get sick. I actually, my my family and friends like have this running joke that I'm immune to COVID. It's kind of insane for somebody who was always sick growing up. My immune system has completely changed. I use propolis every single day. Our throat spray, I do 4 sprays every single day, and then if I have an exposure or I'm traveling or I'm feeling run down, I just double up. So I'll do 4 sprays twice a day. But my health has just changed really dramatically. And it's from integrating all these different products from the beehive, propolis, royal jelly, pollen, really high quality raw honey. But, anyways, back to the story. So, dramatic health change. I completely became obsessed with the bees and bee products. I started beekeeping. This is back in 2012 that I started beekeeping. So now it's kind of like hipster and trendy, but at the time it was very weird. But I started to really learn about these different bee products, but also how the bees play such an integral role in our overall ecosystem. And I started to become really obsessed with regenerative and sustainable beekeeping and, working with the bees in a way that actually helped them to thrive and flourish. And that set me down a very different path.
Yeah, well, I want to get into that. And the tincture that this pharmacist gave you, did you just drop it in your mouth or did you mix it with
Yeah.
water? How did you take it?
So it was an alcohol-based tincture. So it was propolis in alcohol. It tasted bad. It tasted like vodka. And I just dropped it in my mouth. And that actually, 'cause I don't like the taste of hardcore alcohol in my mouth. Um, and so that sort of shaped our propolis throat spray. I really wanted to do an alcohol-free version because propolis is also really soothing. And when you have it in the alcohol, you lose its ability to sort of soothe the symptom. It's really awesome when you have a sore throat. And so our propolis throat spray, we do an alcohol-free formula. So we just evaporate out the alcohol. And that way we have something that doesn't taste like vodka. It tastes like propolis, which I think is quite yummy. And you get that really nice soothing effect.
Yeah, well, I've been using your propolis spray for, gosh, maybe going on 2 years now. Like my husband and I, we just always have it. And I may do more than 4 sprays a day. Like I just like randomly, just
Totally
spray it.
can.
Yeah. Now you brought up a really good question that I was curious about, or a really good topic, I should say, is you continue to take propolis daily. Now, for example, antibiotics, if you take them, then sometimes the virus or the bacteria or whatever, it can become resistant, right? Now, is this not the case for propolis?
This is actually amazing. There's been studies looking at C. diff. So C. diff is something that it's a really serious condition that can develop usually with elderly patients in the hospital, where they basically develop this drug-resistant bacteria that kind of eats away at their body. Sounds terrible because it is. And propolis can actually be really helpful with drug-resistant strains of C. diff. And so propolis is something, It's an immunomodulatory agent. So the same way with adaptogens, they work with your stress levels, they work with your body. Bee products immunomodulate. So they work with your system to help to support it. So if you have an autoimmune condition where your system, like me, where your system's in overdrive, it can be really dangerous to take an immune booster. Propolis helps to regulate that. If you have an underactive immune system, it will help to support it. So propolis is a tool that really works with your body. And there's actually been studies that have shown even if somebody does have to take an antibiotics, there are certainly, times and situations where an antibiotic can be necessary, taking propolis with it has a synergistic effect. It actually
Ooh.
improves the effect of the antibiotic and it helps to protect your gut.
That's amazing because, as you mentioned, it's not only antibacterial, it's antiviral, which a lot of antibiotics do not kill viruses.
No.
And is it antifungal too?
It is. Yeah, it's really awesome for candida, actually. There's a lot of studies looking at that. And then how it works on inflammation. I think inflammation is the root of so many health issues today, and propolis is powerful when it comes to inflammation. How people should think of propolis, it's like a sealant. It seals and insulates the body against environmental stressors. So just to take it back to the beehive for a second, because I feel like everyone knows about honey, and there's all of these other things that are happening in the beehive that are completely different from honey. And by the way, I love honey, and honey is like a part of my everyday. I just had honey on my breakfast, but there's a lot of really interesting things coming out of the beehive. So just to talk about how propolis works and the role it plays in the hive, a hive
Yeah.
would die without propolis. Like it can't survive without propolis. Propolis is how the bees defend themselves from bacteria, pathogens, environmental stressors. And so what the bees are literally doing is they go from plant to plant and they're collecting plant and tree resins. So think of like sap, where for honey, the base ingredient is coming from flowers, it's floral nectar. For propolis, it's coming from sap. And so these are plants that have survived for, I don't know, ever. These plants know how to survive. Trees, these different plants, they have survival mechanisms. And so it's collecting the immunoproperties of the plant itself. It's literally the aspects of these plants that have allowed these plants to survive for hundreds of thousands of years longer. And they're collecting these plant and tree resins, they mix it with their enzymes, and they make this sticky amber colored substance called propolis. And they use it to line the entire hive and keep it germ free. They'll line the inside of the cell walls for newborn baby bees. So they literally use it to create a sterile environment for newborns. And it's just the substance that allows them to thrive and protects them. And so if there's like a crack in the hive wall, they'll seal it with propolis. If there's, anything like that. And so it functions the same way we talk about leaky gut all the time. Propolis is so effective for leaky gut because it literally helps to strengthen the tinctures in the digestive tract. It helps to line and seal. So propolis creates this barrier around, many of your vital organs to help you really thrive. And we're exposed to carcinogens, like the bad air quality, the seed oils, like all of these things. Propolis helps to kind of seal our body and protect us from these environmental stressors. And that's why propolis is so powerful when it comes to protecting us from oxidative stress.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel like that was a question that I think you just answered was you just explaining to my listeners what propolis actually is, because I feel like everyone knows what honey is. A lot of people know what royal jelly is, what bee pollen is, and propolis is just one of those byproducts. I don't want to say it's a byproduct of honey, but it's maybe a byproduct of of the
Yes.
bees.
Yeah. Because it's a very different chemical composition than honey. There's over 300 beneficial compounds in propolis. There's everything from quercetin, apigenin, chrysin, like there are so many bioactives in we actually test, we're the only company in the world, I'm very proud of this, that tests our bioactives. So we test every batch of propolis to make sure, because there's no standardization. It's like, okay, we know propolis is good for you. This is like what I was talking about, where growing up, I was really frustrated with natural, and the fault is not on the natural product industry. If anything, it's on big pharma, but nobody is testing natural products to the same degree and rigor and like holding it to the same standard as pharmaceuticals. And there's probably more good stuff we can find in different ways to use it in different health applications. And so Beekeepers Naturals, our whole thing is we're using all natural ingredients, but we want to be testing, creating, applying the same standard as the pharmaceutical industry. So we have a medical advisory board. And unlike a lot of companies on our medical advisory board, we have doctors of all different types. So we have Dr. Joel Warsh, who's a pediatrician. We have Dr. Michal, who's a gastrointestinologist. We have Dr. Danny Clark, who's a naturopathic doctor. We have Dr. Melissa Clark, who's a naturopathic endocrinologist. We have Mona Sharma, who's a dietitian. Like we have Tiffany Lester, who's a functional medicine doctor. We have all of these doctors who are well studied in different modalities, and we bring them together and we develop products with them. And our goal is, can every single voice in the room, the naturopath versus the physician versus the functional medicine doctor, does everyone agree that this is the best formula possible? And then that's how we go forward. And then we're testing everything. We're testing for bioavailabilities. We're testing for pesticide toxins and heavy metals, contamination. We go through a lot of steps to make sure we're not just giving people the purest, cleanest, highest quality products, but that they really work. And we're holding ourselves just to that really high standard that I needed growing up and dealing with my health issues, and that I think should exist for other people.
All right, raise your hand if you are stressed right now or have anxiety. I recently moved and I went through a lot of stress right now. And I don't know where you are in your health journey or just in life in general, but stress and anxiety, I think, affect everyone. And for me, a few things that just did help me just through all of that is just staying hydrated. I know that's so simple and it's really overlooked. I made a point to just make sure I was staying hydrated with electrolytes, a lot of water, and I am a horrible water drinker. So what helped me during this time is just drinking a pack of Element every single day. I put it in my big thermos and I drink it throughout the day. It really, really helped me. It also helped me with being less constipated because everyone knows if we are not hydrated enough that we can get constipated. Element has really been my go-to electrolyte drink mix for like 2 years, I want to say now. It's been amazing. I always opt for the unflavored raw version, which is just 3 simple ingredients. There's no natural flavors. There's no funky ingredients. And I just love that. And I just add like a splash of lemon or grapefruit juice just to flavor it up. You can do lime. They do have other flavors as well. So if raw, unflavored is not your cup of tea, they do have other options as well. I just stick to the unflavored. And for anyone that's never tried it, you can get a free sample pack to really explore all that they have to offer. So if you just go to drinkelement.com/digest, you can get a free sample pack. So again, just go to drinklmnt.com/digest to get this amazing offer. And they also have a no questions asked refund policy. So you can try their products totally risk-free. And if you don't like it, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. You really have nothing to lose, you guys. Again, just go to drinkelement.com/digest to get this amazing offer and a free sample pack. Okay, so if you're one of those people like myself who was always looking for water to be just easier to drink, like I am a person that just doesn't like to drink a lot of water. I don't know why. I've never been a water drinker. And having safe, clean water is, of course, just one more thing to have to worry about. And you don't want to do that. Unfortunately, according to the extensive research done by the EWG, 3 out of 4 homes in America have harmful contaminants in their tap water. Maybe that's why I never liked drinking water as a kid. Like we grew up on tap water and then I just didn't like drinking it. I don't know. Maybe that's just my theory. But more research is coming out that long-term exposure to high concentrations of PFAS can potentially lead to adverse health effects like cancer, endocrine system disruption, and liver toxicity, which is why I'm glad that AquaTrue removes all PFAS. The filters are affordable and long lasting. No changing filters every 2 to 3 months. AquaTrue's filters last from 6 months to 2 years. I personally got my first AquaTrue back in 2022, and we have only needed to change the filters once, and that was actually quite recently. Just one set of filters from their classic purifier makes the equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. That's less than 3 cents a bottle. Plus, you'll save the environment from tons of plastic waste. And best of all, the water tastes fantastic, and you don't have to worry about PFAS or other harmful contaminants. It's even portable, making it perfect if you rent or live in a college dorm. I actually had never heard of AquaTrue until I met my boyfriend, now husband, back in early 2022. And he was the one who influenced me to get one because he had done just extensive research on the best water filters out there. Thankfully, he's a nerd just like me, and he introduced me to AquaTrue. And let me tell you, the very first month I got the filter, I noticed clearer skin, and I was also just drinking more water in general because it actually tasted good. I had no idea what pure, clean water could actually taste like until I switched to an AquaTrue filter. And before drinking the AquaTrue water, I was just using the filter from my refrigerator fridge that typically comes and just comes out of your fridge, right? Huge difference from that. Now, it gets even better because AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes for a great gift. So, to all my listeners today, you'll receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com. That's AQUATRU.com and enter code DIGEST at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use code DIGEST. It's like the pharmaceutical industry, let me say, they can test because it's manufactured, all pharmaceuticals, everything is exactly the same, the
standardized.
potency, the level, because it's manufactured. With natural products, for example, a sweet potato grown in the ground, one sweet potato versus another may have more nutritional value, it may have more vitamin A or whatever because it's natural and it's not all, quote, regulated, which that's how natural is. It's just all going to vary and be different. So I love that you guys are testing because since it is a natural product, you're making sure it's meeting the standards that you want. So I love that.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, we're trying to kind of break that mold of like natural, even though many of us, including myself, believe that it's much better. It's kind of like unregulated and kind of a free-for-all just because there's not as much money in it as there is in pharmaceuticals. And so we're kind of being like, can we break that mold and have natural products, all things coming from the earth and like all of the ingredients we use. Like if you look at our cough syrup, it's propolis, buckwheat honey, different raw honeys, chaga, elderberry, olive leaf extract. Like we're using all natural compounds, but we're testing them and we're only using things that are backed by science. But the propolis is really cool because we're kind of the first company to do this where we're testing all of our propolis for 6 different bioactives, and it's chrysin, pinobanskin, galgan, apigenin, quercetin, and pinosembrin. And so I know that's a lot of science words, but it's all of these different compounds that basically have anti-inflammatory effects, immunomodulatory effects. Some of those compounds I just mentioned have anti-cancer properties. Like we're testing for these things to make sure that every single sprayer of propolis is packed with all of these health boosting compounds to really help people thrive, especially given all of the stressors and toxins that we're exposed to. I'm like on a microplastic deep dive right now, and
I know. I feel like everyone is really.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of testing, what about glyphosate? Because can a company test the honey after, because honeys, they're flying everywhere, right? And
Oh gosh,
does
yes.
glyphosate and then also does organic honey really exist? Those are 2 questions I wanted to kind of dive into.
Yeah. Okay. So organic honey is bullshit. And here's why. You can put a hive on certified organic land and get it certified organic, but the bees will forage for a 5-mile radius. If that's a big radius, if the next door neighbors are spraying, if governments are spraying the sides of ditches, which happens in a lot of geographies, they're going to go and they're going to have that exposure. They're going to, pollinate the plants, bring it back to the hive, and it's going to be contaminated. So it's kind of a misnomer, organic honey. Also, like, people have a really big fascination with local honey that I think in the olden days, when local meant like you're exposed to all the different plant life that's around you and it can help with allergies. Now local means like a monocrop. So you're not getting that kind of varied plant life. So it's really tough. And to answer that first question, we pride ourselves on being pesticide free, and we pride ourselves on having the cleanest honey, pollen, propolis, royal jelly available possible. And what we do is we basically don't work in the US, which is really sad, but I haven't been able to find uncontaminated product, and we're constantly testing. It's sad because I live here and it would be more efficient and all of the things, but we work internationally. So right now we have apiaries in Brazil, Argentina, Peru, France, Italy, northwestern parts of Asia. We just found an apiary in Ukraine that we just did soil sample testing with and product contamination testing with, and it came back really clean. So we're going to start working with them. We just got all of our pollen from one of our apiaries in Spain. We're doing some work in Italy. So what we do is we're going international, and we're literally scouring the globe to find clean pesticide-free zones and then find beekeepers that are working in those zones. And so we're working with all of these really cool beekeepers who are hardcore environmentalists like everyone at my company and want to do it differently. And we're working in places that are super remote. So that 5-mile radius, we're actually getting like a 5-mile radius of clean, because we're in super remote areas, and or we're working in areas where there are different pesticide mandates. So neonicotinoids, glyphosates, most common class of pesticides used in the US. In parts of the EU, it's been banned. In parts of Canada, they've instituted a partial ban. So, like, we know local the local pesticide regulation landscape. We understand that we need a 5-mile radius or more. We understand that we need varied plant life. If there is monocropping, they have to do 30% margin planting of wildflowers and like herb variants. So our bees are getting, a varied diet. And so we have all of these measures. And then to top it off, or test before we put anything into the bottle, we're sending it to our lab to test for every pesticide, toxin, and pollutant in accordance with Health Canada, which is more rigorous than the US. So all of our products are built to Canadian and European standards. And that's how we do our testing and where we do our testing. And then we're also working in these like super, super remote areas. And we do that to create a product that's completely clean and free from contamination. And I've mentioned a million times that I'm autoimmune, but so many of our customers are autoimmune. And when I started this company, our customers were people who were very ill. It was a lot of people struggling with hard to treat things like Lyme, like all kinds of things that they just were not finding resolution with conventional methods. And, we have people who are going through chemotherapy. We have all kinds of patients who need to have products that are held to a really high standard. And that's who we make products for. And we believe all products should be made to that standard. But
Amen.
we take it really, really seriously for that reason. And then the other thing is, our mandate is to save the bees. And if we are creating a clean supply chain, if we are building out sustainable beekeeping, like all of our beekeepers that we work with across the globe, they're regenerative, beekeepers, which means they're practicing pesticide free, they're not over harvesting, they're extracting propolis using our method, which is putting in a mesh sheet versus scraping the hive, which is really invasive. They're making sure that there's no monocropping happening, and if there is, they're margin planting. So they're doing things to our standard to make sure the bees are cared for. And what we've seen over time, contrary to population trends, is the bees that we work with and the apiaries we work with, apiary you can think of as a bee farm, they're thriving and growing and multiplying. And one of the most rewarding things about this business is that as we've grown, we've been able to build this like what started out as this fringe, like hippy dippy network of beekeepers has become this awesome, sustainable supply chain. And we've created demand for sustainable products. And we're hoping to just educate consumers on what to look for so that they can demand sustainable products. And yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah. And that was a question too, that are you harming any of the bees because you are taking the propolis, away from them?
Great question. No, we are committed to never over harvesting. So we're constantly monitoring our hives. The hives that in the geographies where there is a winter, we stop harvesting several months before just to make sure they can go into winter with like a plentiful supply. But bees are very intelligent creatures and they overproduce a lot. And it's kind of like I'm breastfeeding right now. So I'm thinking about this. It's like supply and demand. You know how you can like power pump and in some cases, for some people, increase your supply. And then there's like, you don't want to pump because you can oversupply.
Mm.
Sorry for anyone who's not breastfeeding, that
No,
probably
we all get
makes
it.
sense. But okay, but it's the same thing with bees. It's supply and demand. So if we're taking a little bit, they'll produce a little bit more. And so that's for one, we're constantly monitoring. But the way that we work with the bees is very different. So the traditional, and like this doesn't kill bees the traditional method by any stretch. The traditional method of harvesting propolis is you take apart the hive and you scrape propolis off the sides of the wall. Because remember, bees are any surface that sort of interfaces with the outside, bees are covering it in propolis because that's how they protect themselves. That's their immune system. And so traditionally, you just scrape it off the wall. And that doesn't necessarily harm the bees, but it's really invasive and it's stressful. And so, what we do, what we've found is really effective instead of that, is we take this mesh sheet and we put it into the hive. And the bees are like, oh, holes. Let's fill those up so that germs don't get in and that we're protected. And they fill it up and then we just take the mesh out. So they still have all their propolis that they need in the hive. They've just created a surplus.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I do want to get into more of the health benefits of perhaps propolis, but also royal jelly, because I feel like you said you're breastfeeding, and I heard that it can help with postpartum as well as like
Oh my God.
menopause, PMS, fertility. So, can
It's
we
so
dive into that?
powerful. Yeah. So royal jelly, I mean, first of all, my husband and I joke that royal jelly got us pregnant. We were both taking royal jelly pretty aggressively. Royal jelly has been used for thousands of years as a fertility tonic. I mean, traditional Chinese medicine has a very long history, and royal jelly is massive in that line for both men and women for a fertility tonic. And then if you look at this modern studies, it's really cool. There was a study looking at men who weren't taking royal jelly, and it tested sperm across all of these different parameters from DNA, maturity, viability, um, yeah, all these different parameters. And basically, the men taking royal jelly had higher performing sperm, which is really cool. And then another study that I saw recently, it was done in rats, but it was looking at follicular growth in female rats. And the rats given royal jelly had significantly improved follicular growth, which is like a key part of getting pregnant for people, that follicle. So, royal jelly has a lot of really cool applications for fertility. There was this huge study done on menopause, and I think it was like 200 women, and they were given, I believe it was 60 milligrams. I think it was 60. I can send you the study, but
Yeah.
I think it was around 60 milligrams of royal jelly daily. And they were tested across all of these different parameters. I believe it was like an 8-week long study. And they were tested for things like hot flashes, mood stabilization, um, depression, like all of these different menopause related symptoms. And again, royal jelly had significant improvements versus the placebo. So that study was just really exciting, and it,
Wow.
a large population and
What
really,
about
really
sleep?
cool. So for sleep, royal jelly isn't really going to help you, but honey will. Yeah.
Exactly. So, because I know I have a lot of people that ask me on my Instagram. I have women that are going through menopause right now, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't sleep because of the menopause."
The glycogen
And
stores get really depleted when
mhm,
you're going through menopause or just with hormonal changes. Like I started having this after I had my baby, and I was just like, I mean, I was waking up at all intervals of the night, anyways, with her. But then I would like get a couple hours, and I'd wake up in that, and I was like, "What is happening?" And this happens a lot during menopause. The glycogen stores in your liver get depleted. And so it disrupts your sleep wake cycle. And having a teaspoon of raw honey before bed helps to create a sort of slow steadiness with the glycogen stores. So your sleep wake cycle isn't disrupted. So a little bit of honey before bed is like the best biohack ever to help you sleep through the night. And then another really cool thing about honey, it has a major calmative effect on the body. So when you take honey, it creates this slow, steady spike in insulin versus cane sugar that's just like, woo, shooting you up. And it allows the tryptophan in the body to cross the blood-brain barrier where it's converted into serotonin and then melatonin in the dark. So honey actually is like very calming. It helps you wind down. It's a really, really good tool to help with stress response, but also sleep. But back to royal jelly just for one sec, because I'm really, really obsessed with royal jelly right now. I told you I was on this like microplastic bender here because I have to travel a lot for work and I can't always control my environment. And I had to travel a ton for work all through my pregnancy, especially because I knew I was going to take a mat leave. I like had to do a lot and get it done. And especially in that situation, I really couldn't control my environment. I'm like eating airplane food and like things that I try to stay away from, but you got to eat. So, anyways, doing a lot of research on microplastics, and a new study has come out in Australia looking at how royal jelly actually protects the brain from microplastic exposure, which is so cool. So I'm breastfeeding right now. And even when we control our environment to the best of our ability, we're getting microplastic exposure, sadly. And I'm just like downing royal jelly because I want to detox from it. I don't want her to get it in anything from my milk and all of that.
How do you take it?
So I take it. We have a honey product. It's called superfood honey, and I love it because royal jelly is really hard to preserve. And this is sort of like the way royal jelly is naturally occurring in the hive. So it's a raw honey with medicinal grade dosages of royal jelly, pollen, and propolis. And I have a spoon of it in here. This is my matcha. So people ask me, by the way, all the time about denaturing raw honey when you put it in hot liquids. What I do is I put my almond milk in so it's not like boiling hot, and then I mix in the royal jelly. So the royal jelly, I mix in our superfood honey, which has the royal jelly. It gets really hot in the hive, so you're not going to totally denature everything. Or I just take a spoon of our superfood honey. I either have it in my tea or I take a spoon of it every morning, or I do both. But this honey is amazing because it has, in 1 teaspoon, you're getting 745 milligrams of royal jelly, 532 milligrams of pollen, and 43 milligrams of propolis. And it's all in 1 teaspoon. And then again, you're replicating the natural environment of the hive. And I love getting as close to nature as possible. And then I also take royal jelly in our brain support product. So I spend a lot of time researching royal jelly for fertility, for menopause. We have so many female clients who, are pushing us in this direction. But the other really cool thing, and I just shared that it helps to detox the brain from microplastics, but royal jelly has powerful effects on the brain. It's nature's nootropic. Like people call it nature's Adderall. Royal jelly is amazing for focus, memory, concentration. It's really powerful to help prevent neurodegenerative conditions. So anyone who has a family history of things like Alzheimer's, dementia, getting royal jelly into the circuit early is a really supportive thing to do. And so we have this brain fueled product, and it has royal jelly in it. It has Bacopa monnieri, which is an extract from a leaf that's really popular in Ayurvedic medicine. It's an adaptogen. It also has, it improves brain circulation, reduces inflammation. And then ginkgo biloba, which is, most people have probably heard of, really big in traditional Chinese medicine, extracted from the ginkgo tree. And so this product is like, especially, I've been using it in a whole different way because my sleep is very disruptive as a new mom. But I take that. So like I'll do a spoon of our superfood honey in the morning, and then usually afternoon when, I feel like in the old days before I had a kid, I used to be like espresso shot in the afternoon. And now I just do my royal jelly brain fuel, and it's awesome. Like I get that boost of energy. I'm not getting more caffeine, so my sleep isn't disrupted and my anxiety isn't thrown. And then I'm getting that kind of like immediate turn the light on effects. But I also know that I'm protecting my brain and reducing inflammation and supporting my broader health. And that's kind of how we think about all our products. We want to address the symptom, but we want to address the root as well and support the overall body. And I feel like with pharmaceuticals, it's a lot of like Band-Aid solution symptom stuff.
Yeah, well, I've had your brain fuel many times, and I can even take like half a shot because it comes in like this little vial if people
Yeah.
don't know. And I'll do like half a shot and then I'll like put it in the fridge and save it for the next day. Or sometimes I'll do a full, but it really does
It's
just
powerful. Yeah.
like like you said, like put the light bulbs on in my brain where I'm like, wow, like I can kind of like think clearer now and do all of the things. And then I actually heard that maybe it was someone from your company, but they were saying that you have professional athletes that have taken this brain fuel that got like a concussion
Mhm.
and it helped them recover.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. We have a lot of professional athletes in our customer base. There's also a ton of studies around royal jelly actually supporting spatial reasoning. So a lot of people will take it before a game. Sabalanka, she just invested in the company because she loves our products and uses them to support. So we have this awesome network, and we have a lot of people, a lot of pro athletes who have struggled with concussion who are using our brain fuel product. And it's made a huge difference. It's
Yeah.
really cool. So the reason royal jelly really affects your brain, it has one, it's really high in acetylcholine, which is basically the neurotransmitter that helps with brain body connection. It's the messaging transmitter you can think of. And then royal jelly has these two fatty acids that are only naturally occurring in royal jelly. They can only be found in royal jelly. They're called 10-HDA and AMPN1 oxide, and they basically promote neurogenesis. So they help your brain to create new clean neurons. So if there's damage, if you're exposed to toxins, if you're in an area where there's forest fires or mold toxicity or anything like that, like all of these things affect our brain, and royal jelly really helps with the reparative mechanisms and to repair and protect.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people just don't know all of the benefits of honey in general, but also royal jelly, bee
Yeah.
pollen, all of the things. And then there's still like I was actually looking at Robitussin last night on their website, and they're now putting
Just the
propolis.
greenwashing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So they're putting in like this propolis. It's like now it's like honey or whatever it is. And then, but they still have blue number one, red
Oh
40,
my God. It's still
xanthan
like
gum. Like,
you can still use that to clean your car. It's like it's so gross. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like people, I mean, other parts of the world. By the way, royal jelly, it's the colostrum of the beehive, just for anyone who doesn't know, just because I described how propolis is the immune system of the hive. Royal jelly, it's a secretion from nurse bees, and it's fed to newborn baby bees for the first 3 to 5 days of life. So the same way, you give colostrum to newborn baby animals and humans. And then the bees transition off of royal jelly onto a more regular diet of honey and pollen. And it's only the bee who's to become queen who exclusively eats royal jelly. And then the longevity of a queen bee. So regular worker bees during a foraging season will live 6 to 8 weeks. The queen bee lives 3 to 5 years. And the queen bee, like the big difference here is she's eating royal jelly. Regular worker bees don't have reproductive organs. A queen bee will have around 1,500 babies a day plus. So it's really cool to see the way royal jelly affects the bees on a biological level in the hive. It's like kind of insane. So yeah, royal jelly is the colostrum of the hive, and we love it for fertility, brain health,
dang, if you're
menopause
trying to get pregnant,
symptoms. Like,
load
yeah,
up on that jelly.
yeah, honestly, I was like, I was doing when I was trying to get pregnant, I think I was doing like 3 spoons a day of our superfood honey, which is kind of insane. But yeah, to your point, there's so much greenwashing. I mean, we have like the thing that drives me nuts. We have our kids' lollipops. And now as a parent, I feel like I have a whole different level of mama bear energy about kids' products. And our lollipops, first of all, we're not using any refined sugar. We're using things like raw honey, brown rice syrup, monk fruit. Like those are the only things that we're using. And it's mostly raw honey in our kids' lollipops, but there's no dyes, there's no preservatives, there's none of these things. And I look at these kids' products that are like better for you or healthy, and a lot of them have drug fact panels and like Robitussin, NyQuil. Okay, so let me take a step back. You know, when you take NyQuil or Robitussin or something, there's no calories on the back, there's no sugar. So you're just like, oh, there's no calories or sugar in here. That's the natural assumption. When you have a drug fact panel, you don't have to disclose health information. And so a drug fact panel isn't necessarily bad. Like if you're working with an active ingredient that's classified as a drug, you have to put a drug fact panel. But then if you're going to do that, like put the freaking ingredients on your website, like break it down for people because it's really misleading. And so there's all of these kids lollipops that have drug fact panels and you think it's healthy, and then like we send it to our lab to test and there's like 6 to 12 grams of sugar in a lollipop that's like for kids immunity. So anyways, I'm seeing all these products on the market that are so bad, so deceitful, and our kids lollipops, they have 2 grams of sugar coming from unrefined sources. It's all laid out on there. And if we ever do a product that needs a drug fact panel, we will throw all the information on our website. But it's just something for consumers to be aware of and for parents to be aware of because, like, you know, if I was not in this industry, I just wouldn't know.
No, for sure. And I mean, I was in CVS the other day and I walked past, they had this thing and it was vitamin C lozenges, whatever. It was the CVS brand. And
Yeah,
I got curious and I picked it up. I turned it around. The first ingredient was corn syrup. And then it had sugar as the next
yeah,
ingredient. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And people are taking this when they're sick too. So that's like corn syrup is the
crazy.
last thing you want to take when you're sick, first of
Yeah.
all. And I'm like, and you're taking this because it says it's high in vitamin C? Are you kidding me?
We just launched our Beekeepers Naturals cherry lozenges, and I was doing this video the other day comparing our Beekeepers Naturals cherry lozenges to the Hall's cherry lozenges. And the Hall's cherry lozenges, it says like relief, soothing. And so people are taking it when they're sick. And I was like, okay, so our lozenges have vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, propolis, raw honey. It's like like chicory root fiber. It's like the shortest ingredient list ever. And then you turn around the Halls, and the one active they have in there is menthol. So I love menthol, but menthol isn't going to change your immune system. It will be soothing. So it's great. And then the other ingredients, it was like red dye 40, blue C2, sucralose, fructose syrup. Like, what? And so, yeah, people need to turn around the package and just read the ingredients. And then if there is a drug fact panel, ask some questions. It's like if those companies are not putting the ingredients, if they have a drug fact panel and the ingredients cannot be found on their website, then like, I don't know, man, like I wouldn't put that in my body.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to address too, like the whole vitamin C, because I know you guys have like a liposomal, like vitamin C thing that you can just
Yeah.
suck. And so can you explain why liposomal, what's the delivery system and why is that like
I'm
so
obsessed with
important?
liposomal. So liposomal is next gen supplementation. I think we know more about bioavailability. When you take a capsule, your body's only absorbing a pretty small percentage of what you're taking. And so like you're not really getting your money's worth. The digestive process, there's a lot of acid and it erodes things. And so for something you're taking in a capsule to make it through the digestive journey, that's a tall order. So liposomal is a new delivery mechanism. It's basically a new way to take your vitamins, minerals, supplements that actually is targeted in your body. So it's encapsulated in liposomes, so it mimics the cell structure. So you're taking this jelly and it mimics the cell structure so your body's able to recognize it and it can kind of go to the areas that it's needed to do what it needs. So your body's just getting a higher dose of your nutrients. I think I compare it to like, people doing IVs of vitamins. Taking liposomal, you're just getting like a shot of the vitamin versus when you take a capsule or it's in a different format, you're not getting as potent of a source. And yeah, it's mimicking the cell liposome. So it's able to go to the part of the body that really needs it. So we have our liposomal vitamin C plus propolis. And I love that one. Like that one, first of all, if you're sick, it's like a great way to zap it. But for me, that one has changed my skin because there's 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 100 milligrams of prop. And then because it's liposomal, you're like mainlining it. You're like really
Yeah.
getting it to the source. And everyone's taking collagen, but vitamin C is a critical building block for collagen. So it's kind of like taking the precursor. And then propolis is so powerful for inflammation and so high in antioxidants. And that combo has just really like turned it up a notch with my skin. So I take that one every day. And that's like I started taking it every day for immunity, and now I take it for skin health.
Yeah, well, and I think too, just like a lot of people know that many vitamins are fat soluble. So you need different fats to absorb the vitamins, or you need different things to help facilitate, like you said. So vitamin C helps collagen. And if you're not taking vitamin C, you're kind of like throwing your money away, I feel like. But things work together synergetically. And I love that you guys did the research to kind of create such a compound or a supplement that you don't have to think about it. You know, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm taking this, but I also have to take this at the same
It's
time.
5 other things, and this with food and this with that. We're going to be rolling out a lot more in the liposomal space just because it's so effective and it's a way to really target and change people's health. So that's something we're working on.
Okay. Now, for someone that may be allergic to bees,
Mhm.
can your products be taken by them? Like, I've always wondered, if you're allergic to
Yeah.
bees, can you,
Yeah.
what's the deal?
So first of all, allergies are so specific and personal. So if somebody has a bee allergy, I do always encourage them to check with their doctor before using other bee products. But bee venom is a different chemical composition. The bees are such complex creatures. The same way royal jelly is totally different from propolis, which is totally different from honey, which is totally different from bee pollen, and they all have different health benefits. Bee venom is a different substance. So we have a lot of customers that have bee allergies, bee venom allergies, and are totally fine with our products. But like I said, check with your doctor. It's always good to do like a patch test on your skin, spray some propolis, put some honey on your skin, see how you respond to it. But yeah, we have lots of customers who are allergic to bees.
And I want to quickly just debunk the fear of sugar in honey, because I mean, I feel like you did a little bit, but people with diabetes, maybe it helps with blood sugar regulation, which we talked about at the beginning. Can you elaborate on
Yeah.
that?
Okay, so honey increases levels of C peptide, which is a substance produced by your pancreas, and it helps to actually regulate blood sugar levels. So honey does a lot of different things, but that's one of the really cool things it does. So it's actually helpful for the body. Now, everything in moderation. If you're going to eat like a full cup of honey, you're going to get sugar. But having a healthy amount of honey, spoon a day, something like that, it's actually really great for supporting insulin and reducing insulin resistance. And then honey also, it doesn't spike it doesn't spike in your body, create the same insulin spike that cane sugar does. So I think cane sugar, when it's studied, it takes you to like a 45, and I think honey was something like 30 to 35. And then our honey, our superfood honey, because it has the royal jelly, the pollen, the propolis, there's additional fiber, there's additional nutrients in there, so the spike's even lower. So a spoon of honey a day is incredibly helpful for lowering glycemic index, giving you that increasing C peptide, which has all kinds of effects on the body, improving pancreatic function. There's so many reasons to take it, and then that's before we even talk about how honey is amazing for sleep support and mood support and all of that sort of thing. So I always tell people, do not be scared of honey. Honey is such a nourishing food. It's another food that is just prehistoric. Like, I mean, the bees are prehistoric. We've been using these different things for so long, and they have such an incredible role in our health.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you mentioned, yeah, it does help with sleep, but I also feel like it's a great pre workout to give you energy at the same time.
I love pollen as a pre-workout. Pollen's my go-to. So bee pollen, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like the little granules, and in the hive, it's really the main protein source of the hive. And it's literally the bees go plant to plant collecting the pollen. They mix it with their enzymes, and that's how it gets sort of granulated. But bee pollen is nature's multivitamin. It's so nourishing. It's got broad spectrum vitamins and minerals. You really need like tiny amount. Like you can, do a teaspoon a day, sprinkle it on whatever you're eating. This morning for breakfast, I had sourdough toast with avocado, bee pollen on top, like a little sprinkle, and then I drizzled my superfood honey, which also has bee pollen in it. But bee pollen is full of branched chain amino acids, and it actually increases blood hemoglobin levels. So it increases endurance. So taking bee pollen before physical activity is a great way to support muscle growth, support your overall body, increase endurance, give you that energy boost. It's really high in B vitamins, so it gives you a great energy boost. And then bee pollen, it has more protein per weight than any animal source. This is per weight, and pollen is small. But think about how nutrient packed it is to have more protein per weight than like beef and cheese and eggs.
That's amazing. And just going back to our original topic and conversation at the beginning of just how powerful it is as an antibacterial, antiviral, all of these things, just that alone, despite all of the other health benefits we just talked about, like that alone is mind blowing to me, and of course I knew all this and I love diving in more and learning more and educating myself as well as my listeners. And I feel like everybody, especially because now it's like the fall, winter, everyone's getting sick. And this is something I feel like everyone should be consuming and implementing into their daily routine, hopefully to not get sick, but if you are, even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people should be taking every bee product year round. And in other parts of the world, in Europe, it's much better known. In Brazil, bee products are like a part of the medical system. We do so much beekeeping in Brazil because there's just so much demand and awareness. They're doing studies right now in Brazil looking at COVID, looking at tumor shrinking, like all kinds of stuff. But I think, especially given the environment we live in, people should be introducing bee products on a regular basis. And it's a really amazing way to kind of hack your system and stay healthy.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Now, where can people find Beekeepers Naturals?
So, Beekeepers Naturals, you can find us at Target, at Walmart. We're so excited about Target and Walmart because I feel like we want to give these products to everyone. And there are so many Target and Walmart stores and locations, so we're much more available. You can find us at Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, Erewhon, select CVS locations. If you want to learn more, our website is Beekeepers Naturals. Our products are also all available on Amazon. And
Yeah, I saw you at my Sprouts too the other day.
yeah, we're at Sprouts, we're at Erewhon. Most natural stores were available. And
And if you can't find them, just, yeah, Beekeepers Naturals, your website.
yeah, we have a store list. So we're in a ton of stores across America, and our goal is to make our products accessible to all families. So you can definitely find us out there. And for anyone who wants to learn more, or if you have questions, we're on Instagram, beekeepers_naturals. We're on TikTok, and we really love to hear from all of our customers. So
Yeah. And I love that you have a kids line. You have kids cough syrup too. I do want to ask you one more question. Can someone take too much of propolis or royal jelly or anything? Like, do you have like a side effect of taking too much?
So royal jelly is, if you take too much, it's going to give you a lot of energy and it can definitely affect sleep. So, our brain fuel products, you just don't want to take, unless you're trying to pull an all-nighter, you don't want to like take that before bed. The most I've ever done is like 3 shots a day. And I was back to back presentations, like starting at 5 a.m. But propolis, you really can't overdo. Again, because it's immunomodulatory, it works with your body. And so for me, like on a daily basis, 4 sprays of propolis, you're good. But again, if you're traveling, if you're going to be like at a big conference, or you're just like worried about your health, or you feel something coming down, I just keep it in your purse or pocket and just be like kind of spraying it throughout the day. And I usually tell people like 8 to 12 sprays if you're trying to sort of fight something off, because propolis will really help to support your body in fighting off anything that you're exposed to. So to answer your question in a better way, propolis, it's really well integrated in the system, and it does so much, from supporting gut health to fighting inflammation to fighting oxidative stress. So you don't really need to worry about overdoing that one. Royal jelly, I would stick to the recommended dosages on our bottles and our jars. That being said, I have totally taken more. And if you're in a situation where you're trying to get pregnant, or you're having menopause situations, or you're struggling with something like ADD, that's a situation where it would make sense to up your dosage. And then bee pollen, especially because ours is raw and so potent, you really only need a teaspoon a day. I sometimes see people like dumping it on their smoothie bowl, and you don't need that much. Like a teaspoon, if maybe other pollen where it's like heated and treated and not as potent, but with the beekeeper's pollen, a teaspoon and you're good. Um, and yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Totally did. Well, thank you so much, Carly, for your time today. And I hope everyone can check out Beekeepers Naturals. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story. So inspiring. Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To check out more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com, and to email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.